abuniwe tume. Lazima abuniwe tume. Oh. Sheria. Mwananchi, tabia zako ziko chini, unapenda kulipa hongo na kutumia njia za uongo, una mipango na hata watoto wa kando, haujui hata majina yao. Kura yako uliuza maini figo, ukakulia hadi dini, kisha wasema tukuthamini, na wewe hapo hauaminiki, na wewe hapo haupangiki.
Wapi kidero when you need to slap somebody? Complain ufisadi kwani ulidhani t-shirt 50 bob leso siku ya campaign ilikuwa free? Ni 5 year loan investment utalipa kingia parliament. We are one, amani we are one na utumishi kwa wote, utu missing CCTV we were watching. Pressure insecurity na job opportunity ni kama mti ya kibiriti, side moja heavy. Usiniambie Kenya kuna umaskini, kwani hizi fat fingers zinaibia nane? Maskando inathreaten our survival. Media define leadership, na sura ukiaka front page na improve readership. Ambia wase wa Twitter wa hashtag hii ama hash reality doesn't make a good TT. Commission of inquiry wanakula commission bila kutupa ukweli, ni kubaya. Baka kukiwa kuzuri unashindwa nini mbaya. Machozi ya perpetrator ineza dilute damu ya victim ilimwagika. After all is said and done, all will be said, nothing will be done. You're not my tribe, but you're my blood type. Like it doesn't have to take tragedy to know that.
Sheria.
Good evening. I hope you've had a good Monday. It's been a beautiful start to the week. Very cold today, but here we are to survive. And in this country, I think when you get to the end of the day, you have to thank God for that. Karibuni sana. This is Sheria Dive, where we take a deep dive into matters to do with the law. And today we're talking about disappearances. And I want to ask this question. Do you know of someone who is missing, whether because of the recent protests or has just disappeared? You know, one of the funny things I saw is when the police were arresting their apparent serial killer. You know, it said that some of those women had been dead for months. And I really wonder to myself, is it possible that you could be dead for months and no one actually knows about it? And that was only now becoming apparent. So I want to warn you that this show today will disappoint you a little bit in terms of the reality of what it means to be in this country called Kenya. And I hope it can be a big wake-up call to all of us who are listening. And if you're in a position where you're able to actually do something about the problems of disappearance you should be able to do that. So today we're talking about disappearances, abductions. You know, we all used to hear about these things. I used to see them in movies. But the reality is that in this country, Kenya, you actually can get abducted. And sometimes those abductions happen and are done by the police. I think I remember a few years ago, there was a gentleman of Ethiopian origin who was abducted and taken out of his car in broad daylight. And I remember there was a police officer, the ones on motorbikes, he was there. And I think when he was trying to prevent it, he must have been told those are cops, so they must have spoken to each other, because then he stepped away and the guy was taken. And to date, he has never actually been found. These protests have opened our eyes to the reality of our country, that there are very many things that go on in Kenya that we may not actually be aware of. So we're going to be looking at some of the people who went to court to try and get their lost relatives or their lost friends or family, and how that went. All right, there is actually a process. So we're going to be looking at the process under the law. What does the law say in terms of a missing person? Within what period are you now declared a missing person? And what are the steps as a family member you need to take? Of course, I'll be looking at our YouTube chat. Just in case you're watching this, why don't you put any questions you have there, or indicate the name of a person who has been missing. I'll be highlighting some of the people who are still marked as missing. We have a lot of people who are still missing. And I think today we got some very sad news that there's a gentleman who had disappeared, and he disappeared around the period of the protest. And today we learned that his body was found, and he was taken to the mortuary and marked as a victim of a hit and run. Now, this is concerning because it also turns out that some of the people who were shot in the protests were actually booked as hit and run victims by the police at the mortuary. And the only way people were able to discover what had happened was when postmortems were done. Of course, today as well, I also came across a report. Now, when the protests were happening, there was a story that was doing rounds that there was a child who had actually who had died, okay? This child was in a school bus, okay? So, and I think it was Marion Schools. So the child suddenly started bleeding, and they thought that he had hit his head on the bus or something, and so they tried to get him medical attention, but he died. And now this is a report that they got, the message that they got from the school. It said, "Dear blessed parent, as communicated earlier, we lost Master Ryan Mwendwa on Tuesday, 16th of July, 2024. The autopsy conducted on Thursday, 18th July 2024, in our presence and that of the family, confirmed that he was hit by a stray bullet, which was a great shock to us. The DCIO is handling investigations to establish the facts and how far the bullet was fired from. We'll be holding prayer meetings every day at 5:30 p.m. at the Kahawa West campus." So that boy is dead. There was a stray bullet, and I guess police will be investigating which police officer actually shot him. That's Kenya for you. I told you this is going to be depressing, okay? So strap in, buy your seatbelt. Hatutoki hapa. Tuko pamoja hadi mwisho. Let's get some music. Let's go.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power up. Magic's anger on the beat.
Tunapendeza pamoja, ni dhahiri tuliumbwa tuwe pamoja, baby, na sisi waga pamoja tili, na kama kando yake ukuniona, jua siku mbali, mwanami kivuli chake, aenda kona mina kwenda ye, haijalishi wendako wapi baby, shike mkono tuende sote baby, mwanami kivuli chake, aenda kona mina kwenda ye, haijalishi wendako wapi baby, shike mkono tuende sote baby. Mapenzi hisia, moja anakuridhia, mapenzi hisia, haijalishi mpenda nani, haijalishi mpenda nani, basi niambie nampenda nani, shakina lake hadharani, iwe anafanya mjengo makanga haosogi, alimradi anakuridhia moyoni, awe mvuvi au bodaboda kupata kukosa ni majaliwa, awe seremala muuza mboga kupata kukosa ni majaliwa, awe mvuvi au bodaboda kupata kukosa ni majaliwa, awe seremala muuza mboga kupata kukosa ni majaliwa. Mapenzi hisia, moja anakuridhia, mapenzi hisia, moja anakuridhia, alimradi unanipenda baby, alimradi unanipenda mama, mi alimradi unanipenda, you know that I'm crazy over you. Kila nikikona roho yangu juju, wanasema eti umenipa juju. Oh girl, I'm crazy over you. You know that I'm crazy over you. Kila nikikona roho yangu juju, wanasema eti umenipa juju. I'm crazy over you. Baby you, baby you, baby you, baby you, baby kona roho yangu, kona roho yangu. Fanya juju, unanifanya juju. Mapenzi hisia, moja anakuridhia, mapenzi hisia, moja anakuridhia.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power up.
Napitia na dinga ina speakers inatingisha madirisha, kuliko pretty girl na digira kitingisha, mwili kameshikwa na madhidhi yakiniambia na malizanga kama dishi ya familia, uwezi wa iraia mwingine kami mini kaa ninja na wapiga na mahit toka LA hadi mtazama beast, imekuwa ni ngori aje nimeitiwa chief, hakuna basha ni pambakahi, ilianza jana na ikiisha sahi, ni Juma Mbanga wali kamingi na bado bash ingeshika kamiti, kwa hivyo jaza tambla na kidri, ita mama pima kamivi na taska malt na maplis na kambili, losi dance kwa flow na dance kwa ceiling, losi dance kwa flow na dance kwa ceiling, losi dance kwa flow na dance kwa ceiling.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio. Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about victims of abduction. Who is actually abducting people? Now, the general assumption usually is that people are being abducted by the government, right? Because most abductions you'll find they're happening in huge groups. Today, I'll be giving a shout out to everyone who's been reported missing as a result of the recent protests, or any missing person report that we've come across online. Now, there's a lady called Shelmith Nyawera who is from Thika, and she's 24 years of age. Shelmith Nyawera Njiru. Her story is actually very sad because she's a nurse at Mount Kenya University, and she was reported missing on 17th of July 2024. She had been last seen in Thika on the same day. Now, on 21st July 2024, someone who identified themselves as an OCS called the family and said that Shelmith had been found in Migori County in critical condition. The family was told it was possible to move her to Nairobi, but they needed to pay for an ambulance. Now, they paid for the same and were told they would be contacted once Shelmith got to Nairobi Men's Hospital. It was then that the family confirmed on social media and phone that their daughter had been found and called off the search. Now, there's a guy called here, Lenny Papito, who says he followed up on the next day in the morning to check up on if she was okay and if the family needed any help. And unfortunately, it appears that the family was conned and Shelmith has not yet been found. Now, the family has been up the whole night moving from one hospital to the other in Nairobi, but their daughter is nowhere to be found, and their calls to the alleged OCS are going unanswered. Now, the family, of course, as you can imagine, is distraught. When they tried to trace her cell phone, her last cell signal was in Malaba, and according to her mom, 500 shillings was withdrawn from her M-Pesa there. She had also sent a text saying she was dazed and she had no idea where she was or how she got there. Her words, according to the mom, were, "It looks like a foreign country." Her phone then went off and the mom hasn't heard from her again. Now, they've made a report at the DCI, and although they were advised not to post her again as missing on social media, the encouragement has been that we keep amplifying her story. Shelmith really needs all the help. So if you come across Shelmith, Nyawera, please just reach out to those numbers. There are some numbers that have been provided. That's 0790-938-638 and 0792-580-634. Or if you could just do a simple search on Twitter, you should be able to get her details. Of course, today was also the day for the burial of Denzel. Denzel Omondi is a student from the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agricultural and Technology, and he was an architecture student. And he went missing around the time of the protests, only to be found in a quarry. And when the postmortem was done, it was found that he had bruises on his knees, which suggested that either he had been injured on his knees or he had been forced to kneel down. And his hands had been tied. And it was clear that by the time he was being thrown into the quarry, he was actually alive. So it was a drowning, a complete drowning. Such a young man gone. And I think everyone just wonders, like, who is actually going to answer for some of these things? Because someone actually needs to provide answers. And if the government is the one that is taking people out as a result of participating in the recent protests, then they need to come forward and give that information. Now, when someone disappears, the first thing you need to do is to report at the nearest police station, all right? You report them as missing, and then the police will usually give it a period of about 48 hours. If in those 48 hours the person has not been traced, then he or she is declared as a missing person. Of course, families are always encouraged that some of the places you need to look for someone who has gone missing is you need to go to the hospitals, check out if there are any patients who've been brought in. You need to go also to the mortuaries. You need also to go to the mortuaries to see whether that person has been declared as a dead person, or maybe their body had been taken there. So those are some of the steps that you actually need to take. But the law also provides for a procedure under the Constitution and also under the Criminal Procedure Act in Kenya for what we call an application for habeas corpus. And habeas corpus simply means produce the body. Now, in the year 2017, the family of one Ahmed Hajir Malim Abdullahi went to court seeking to have the court issue the orders of habeas corpus. And basically, these orders are issued against the government, where the court tells the government, produce this person, produce this body. Now, on 11th July, that application was filed, and they were urging the court to order that the Inspector General of Police, the officer in charge of the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit, the DCI, and the Director of Public Prosecutions to produce Ahmed Hajir Maalim Abdullahi. And according to them, he was abducted on 6th of May 2017 by 5 plainclothes men who claimed to be police officers, and he was bundled into a black Nissan La Festa motor vehicle registration number KBH 082Y. Now, since the time of his abduction, he had not been traced. At the time of his abduction, he was with his friend Adan Siad Gone. He was abducted together with Adan Siad, but Adan Siad was released on the same day by the abductors. Now, upon learning of his fate, of course, his family searched for him at various police stations and hospitals, but the search yielded no positive result. The family then made a report to the police at Kahawa Sukari Police Post on the same day and got an OB number. That OB number was produced in court as in support of that application. Now, when they tried to trace him through his mobile phone, they could not. And when they searched for that number plate at the on the NTSA platform, they discovered that it was not actually a Nissan La Festa black in color, but it was a Toyota Corolla NZD white in color. So what had happened? The number plate of a Toyota Corolla NZD had been taken and put on a Nissan La Festa. And that's why when they did a search, the number plate was correct, but the car was different. And their search indicated that the registered owner of the motor vehicle was one Mbura WaNjeri. Now, it was apparent to them that the report to the police did not yield the expected outcome, and that informed their decision to file the application for habeas corpus. Now, when the matter came before court, the court had issued orders that the county criminal investigating officer would take over investigations from Kahawa Sukari police station with a view to ascertaining the whereabouts of Ahmed Hajir Maalim Abdullahi, and a report was to be filed in court on 25th of May 2017. Now, on 26th of May 2017, the matter was mentioned in court and on several subsequent occasions as the court awaited delivery of the investigation report by the concerned police officer. A report was finally presented to court on 6th of June 2017 by one Corporal Matthew Bett, who was a District Criminal Investigation Officer, DCIO, in charge of Ruiru, Kiambu County. Now, in the report, he narrated how he followed several leads with a view to establishing whether Ahmed was in the hands of any government agency or investigative body. And this is his conclusion. He says, Adan Siad Gone is a reportee in this case, and application in this matter reported via that OB number, in that him and his friend were kidnapped by unknown men whom, as they went to meet at Kawasukari as their customer who wanted to buy shoes. The report does not have any evidence whatsoever that any government agent was aware of the kidnapping. A reportee rendered his statement and indicated that his friend Ahmed Abdullahi was not a wanted person by the police or any other government agents. This is enough evidence to show that the missing person was not arrested by government agencies and is not being detained anywhere in police custody. The signals of a missing person have been sent to all police stations countrywide, and we have not received any report that the missing person has been identified anywhere. Now, the court was informed that the family of Ahmed had further leads that they wished the police to investigate, and the court directed the police to investigate the leads and to report to the court in the following week. On that date, one Police Corporal Dismas Juma of the DCI office at Ruiru told the court that we have exhausted all the leads in this case, including checking whether there was CCTV camera at the scene of crime. There was no CCTV camera. We have exhausted investigation in the mobile data. We have nothing further to report. Now, the family of Ahmed, of course, was asking the court to investigate the possibility that he may be under military detention. So the court agreed and ordered the KDF to present a report to the court if they were holding the subject during the course of their duties. Now, Major Dennis Agaki Arisa, who was attached to the Directorate of Military Intelligence at the Kenya Defence Forces headquarters, swore an affidavit categorically denying that Ahmed was in their custody. In paragraphs 5 and 6 of the affidavit, he says that the Kenya Defence Forces formations and units have never at any time arrested the applicant Ahmed Hajir Maalim Abdullahi as alleged, and that the Directorate of Military Intelligence has never arrested and is neither detaining the applicant at its military facility at Karen as alleged. Now, with that assertion by the Kenya Defence Forces, the court found that it became clear that the subject was not under the formal custody of any of the security agencies unless there was the possibility that the security agencies were not being candid or forthright with the court. Now, the court's evaluation of the responses made by both the police and the Kenya Defence Forces ruled out that probability. Okay? Now, what grants the court the right to issue the writ of habeas corpus? Under Article 51 of the Constitution of Kenya, it guarantees one's right to move to the court for a writ of habeas corpus. This is what it says. A person who is detained or held in custody is entitled to petition for an order of habeas corpus. Under Section 328(1) of the Criminal Procedure Code, it reinforces the constitutional proposition, and this is what it says. The High Court may, whenever it thinks fit, direct that any person within the limits of Kenya be brought up before the court to be dealt with in accordance with the law, and that any person illegally or improperly detained in a public or private custody within those limits of Kenya be set at liberty. Now, when the court is dealing with such cases, it has followed the rules that have been established in a previous decision where the court was directed that in the exercise of its jurisdiction, when granting a writ of habeas corpus under the Constitution and the Criminal Procedure Code, the High Court has to ensure that any detention or confinement is lawful and due process has been followed as a guarantee to people's liberty. The writ of habeas corpus is granted when an applicant shows to the satisfaction of the court that the subject is in the unlawful custody or detention of the respondent, and the writ of habeas corpus is used to test the legality or otherwise of that detention. Now, in this case, the court, in exercise of its jurisdiction, in pursuant of the orders that were asked for by the applicant, had directed the police to conduct thorough investigations to establish the whereabouts of the subject when it became apparent that he was not under police custody. The judge said that the court did not discern any resistance from the police when they were instructed to investigate all the leads, including the leads provided by the family of Ahmed. Now, the report that had been filed in court by the police established that Ahmed had not been in the custody of the police, nor were the police investigating him at the time. Even the expansion of the net to include the Kenya Defence Forces, who are not party to the application, had a negative response because they too confirmed that he was not in their custody. Now, in the circumstances of that application, the court said that it was evident that despite all its efforts to assist the Ahmed's family to secure his release or to establish his whereabouts, the effort did not yield the desired result. It was apparent that the subject, Ahmed, may have been abducted by unknown people not connected to the security apparatus of the state. In the premise, therefore, that application for habeas corpus failed. This decision was actually issued on the 16th day of December 2020 by Justice Luka Kimaru. And if you can do a simple math with me, it means that from 11th July 2017, it was about 3 years by the time the court was making this decision. So where is Ahmed Maalim Abdullahi? The person who was abducted with him says it was police officers. But the police are saying we are not holding him. The military is saying we are not holding him. So who's fooling who? Today, we have no idea where this gentleman is or if he was ever found. Part of the unfortunate bit is that habeas corpus will deal with cases where you have been unlawfully detained, okay? If your detention is unlawful, then and only then will the court issue an order that you be produced. But what happens when the government comes and says, we don't actually have this person? What more can be done? Unfortunately, nothing more can be done because remember, the court cannot carry out investigations of its own. It has to rely on the same police who have kidnapped you. If you've been kidnapped by police or abducted, they have to rely on the same people to actually produce you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we consider this and as we look at the people who have been taken away and no explanations have been given, the reality of the matter is that abductions have not begun today. We've always had a nation where people get abducted. And maybe it was just that we were shielded from it. We did not know it. And now we are realizing that, oh my goodness, you can actually get out of your house and just go do your business. And then before you know it, you've disappeared. You've been taken away. That is the sad reality of living in this country called Kenya. But of course, every single person in this country has a right to go through due process. You have a right to be taken through proper process. You have a right to be informed why you're being arrested. You have a right to call your advocate. You have a right to call even if it's a family member. And you have a right to be informed of the reason for your arrest. And within 24 hours, you have to be brought before the court. One would always wonder, what happens when you are taken and you're abducted, for instance, even if it's by the police? Because we know that there are some police, there's some squads within the police who abduct people. What happens to these people when they're taken? Because no one ever finds out about them. And of course, we know that it was just a few years ago when people were actually discovered in River Nyando. You remember River Nyando? Bodies were fished out of River Nyando. I think they were in the double numbers, bodies of Kenyans. These are people who had probably been killed and thrown into those rivers. You'll also remember the case of Willie Kimani. Willie Kimani was a lawyer who was representing someone in a case against a police officer. And together with his taxi driver, they were kidnapped, and his client, they were kidnapped. and they were killed and put in sacks and thrown into the river. That is the reality of this country, that we have among the police who are supposed to be protecting us, who are supposed to be, the people we run to when things go down. They are also, in many cases, the same people who are carrying out these abductions. So these are sad cases because the habeas corpus application failed because none of the government agencies had the answers that we needed. Now, earlier I was talking about the case of Samuel Ngure Njau, who had been missing since June 25th. And if you remember what happened on June 25th, is that was the day when Kenyans stormed Parliament. Now, his body was found on 21st July at the city mortuary. He had been disappeared for 3 weeks, and it is allegedly said that he was a victim of a hit and run. It was a road accident that set him there. Of course, the family can always carry out a postmortem just to establish indeed what killed him. But I think one of the things that is very saddening in this country is that we do not take the lives of Kenyans, and we do not treat the life of Kenyans as being precious. It's very easy to lose your life in this country, and I don't think that is something that we should accept. Let's take some music, and then when we come back, we look at other cases. Have there been more successes with habeas corpus, or has it become a useless application to take to court? Let's go.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawa Radio.
Another day, another crisis. Keyboard warrior still typing. Mini lava siku hizi spendi fighting. Na maheta hawawezi ntoa timing. Na hata wakinita guide, I know my baby will be by me. Na wakiniseti kwa IG, dawa ya watiaji huwanga silence. Niko sherehe mina vibe, na nyimu nani analyze. I wonder why, me I'm just tryna catch a wine. We shughulika na your life. Niko sherehe mina vibe, na nyimu nani analyze. I wonder why, I'm just tryna catch a wine. We shughulika na your life. Cheki zangu zime nice. Don't you disrespect my lover. Sina number my guy. Tonight I don't want no drama. Sina number my guy. Chaber dongingero anahero gasianda. Sina number my guy. Leo ni party hadi mchana. Sina number my guy. Sherehe na piganga na kikosi. Kwa mfuko pesa haikosi. Mademu wananitanga kiongozi. Vile mimi hutesanga Nairobi. Sele zimeripoti. Chini tuko kwa magoti. Aki wewe usinirekodi. Kesho nipate mmesha niposti. Niko sherehe mina vibe. Na nyimu nani analyze. I wonder why, me I'm just tryna catch a wine. We shughulika na your life. Niko sherehe mina vibe. Na nyimu nani analyze. I wonder why, I'm just tryna catch a wine. We shughulika na your life. Cheki zangu zime nice. Don't you disrespect my lover. Sina number my guy. Tonight I don't want no drama. Sina number my guy. Chaber dongingero anahero gasianda. Sina number my guy. Leo ni party hadi mchana. Sina number my guy. Sina noma. Sina number my guy. Sina noma. Sina noma my guy. Sina noma my guy. Chaber dongingero anahero gasianda. Sina number my guy.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power up.
Sweet is for you. Down and make us a bonita. My jig sang upon this one. Nikidege juu kama pilot, achini sishuki tena. Wakipiga mbea kama pilot, wambie kwa komi mwema mama ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha bibi nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema. Wakipiga jungu ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha baby nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema.
Party boss, yeah. A night boy got the game locked. Mpaka lini nitawambia maisha London. Dealing with a boss, and you know that. Atubadilisha channel I'm the program. Saka, a girlfriend I'm loving your vibe. Hapa kamewaka moto kolo 99. Basi njo close kidogo, nitupe lugo nitoe njeve kidogo nipe joto. Baby nakutaka we sitaki nobody else. Uyo fala jo muulize we nani. Nakupa tam tumalize na makadi. Si sorry, a night boy.
Nikidege juu kama pilot, achini sishuki tena. Wakipiga mbea kama pilot, wambie kwa komi mwema mama ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha bibi nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema. Wakipiga jungu ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha baby nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema. Say my boo, strike around you. Kwako mikirege kwa pitching talent too. Say you, but think me I go do. Bust up me brain go and go full. That no bad man wanna live with you. Them say you bad girl but me satisfy you. Look so fine mama tempted to touch. I love your boogie dance baby one to the top. Mikirege you kama pilot, achini sishuki tena. Wakipiga mbea kama pilot, wambie kwa komi mwema mama ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha bibi nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema. Wakipiga jungu ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha baby nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema.
Ache wakule kwa macho, ni wapetish wafute na jasho. Tumematch karedi na purple. Baby mama washa fire hapo kwa dance floor. Ufurahi ni furahi, niko na suti ni petai. When ni arrow mi masai, tukunye kahawa githurai. Nipige munju ni kwe high, ni kama crows in the sky. Niko na jeans dunga Nike, niko na jeans dunga tao. Wanna dice peace niko local. Wakikuja na watoa moko moko. They wanna play the game hisi loto. Dawa ya wakubwa eka mbali na watoto.
Nikidege juu kama pilot, achini sishuki tena. Wakipiga mbea kama pilot, wambie kwa komi mwema mama ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha bibi nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema. Wakipiga jungu ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie, ning'ang'anie tena. Wakichocha baby nishikilie, nishikilie, nishikilie vyema.
There you go, there you go, there you go. Now, today we're talking about disappearances. What happens when your child does not come back home? What is the next step that you take? Now, there was a case that was brought to court. On the 1st of June 2016, one Brian Zenze was a pillion passenger on the motorcycle of Erickson Aluda Mambo when they were arrested by two administration police officers and they were bundled in motor vehicle Toyota Land Cruiser registration GKA 875X. The officers and the vehicle were attached to Kawangware Chief's camp. This happened when onlookers and passers-by witnessed the same, but no person knew the destination where they were taken upon arrest. Now, inquiries were made in all police stations in the area, including Kabete, Kino, Kileleshwa, and Muthangari police stations, but they could not be found. The administration police officers knew the whereabouts of these two gentlemen whose continued detention was illegal and unlawful because it infringed on their constitutionally protected and guaranteed rights. Now, the petitioner, the number one petitioner was the Law Society of Kenya, which had filed this application on their behalf. and they were relying on Articles 20, 21, 23, 25, 26, and 51 of the Constitution of Kenya. Now, these articles provide for the right to institute court proceedings when a right has been violated for declaration of rights, right to freedom from torture, cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment, the right to a fair trial and hearing, the right to an order of habeas corpus, which, as we've discussed, means to produce the body, right to freedom and security of the person, and the right to inherent dignity, which dignity has to be respected and protected. Now, in addition to that, Article 23.1 provides that the High Court has jurisdiction in accordance with Article 165 to hear and determine applications for redress of violations of rights and freedoms. Now, Article 29 of the Constitution of Kenya provides that every person has the right to freedom and security, which includes the right not to be deprived of freedom arbitrarily or without just cause, the right not to be detained without trial except during a state of emergency, a right not to be subjected to any form of violence from either the public or private source, a right not to be subjected to any manner of torture, whether physical or psychological, corporal punishment, or to be treated in a cruel, inhuman, or degrading manner. Now, according to the Law Society, they were saying that the two gentlemen could have been in police custody, and since they had not been arraigned in any court within 24 hours as provided for under Article 49 and 51 of the Constitution, then they were now coming to court to ask for an order of habeas corpus to be issued. All right? Now, according to the affidavit that supported this petition, the parents to the two gentlemen disclosed to them that their sons had been missing since the 1st of June 2016, and they believed that they were being held by the administrative police officers who were servants of the Inspector General of Police. Now, they also went on to say that these children were taken to an unknown place. The arrest of the two was at the marketplace as onlookers witnessed. The parents were Eunice Kajairo and Sarah Kade Muyera. They searched for the two persons between the 2nd and 3rd of June 2016 at the Kawangware Chiefs Camp, police stations at Ruta Satellite, Muthangari, Kabete, Kilimani, Kileleshwa, and Kinoo police stations, and at hospitals and mortuaries within the city, but to no avail. The motorcycle had also been taken. Now, Erickson Aluda, his mother, was then asked to go to Muthangari police, where she was asked to record a statement. Further, she was also asked to come back with his photo within 4 days for him to be advertised as a missing person. There was an eyewitness who had told them that the reason for the arrest was that the police officers said they were witnesses in a murder case. The said eyewitness had refused to record his statement for fear of his life. Now, through the assistance of one Mr. Rashid, who was the OCPD of Kabete Police Station, it was later revealed that the motor vehicle Land Cruiser registration number GKA 875X and the two arresting officers were attached at Kawangware Police Station. An eyewitness called Anthony identified the officers as Benson Simiu, aka Kichwa, Officer Simon Mbao Moreithi, and Officer Njoroge, aka Njoro. They denied that they had arrested the two and that there was no assistance from the Kawangware Administration Police Commander. The position was later reversed to be an admission when the Kabete OCPD summoned the Kawangware AP Commandant to the DCIO offices. Now, the parents to these two gentlemen and witnesses went and recorded statements, though some of the witnesses were intimidated. Further, the police at the DCIO had refused to cooperate with the parents by refusing to pick their calls, and whenever they could visit the offices, they were informed that investigations were ongoing. It prompted them to make a complaint to the Independent Police Oversight Authority, IPOA, but so far there had been no progress. It was therefore their belief that the arresting officers knew the whereabouts of the two gentlemen. They were also asking the court to issue orders compelling that those two gentlemen, Brian Zenze and Erickson Aluda Mambo, be produced in court. Now, on their part, the first and third respondents in this case, who were the Attorney General and the Inspector General of Police, they filed a response, and this was an affidavit by one Benson Simiu Makoha, who said that he was an administration police officer attached at the Administration Police Unit at Kawangware Divisional Headquarters. He was one of the police officers who had been mentioned in the petition. He had reported for duty on 1st June 2016 in the morning, and he was allocated to patrol at Riruta area. A duty rota and firearm register was annexed. He was on duty together with his colleagues, one administration police, Simon Bao, Kenneth Njoroge, Simon Rotich, Joseph Lekalcha, and a driver, Corporal James Kahari, who were all from the Dagoretti sub-county headquarters. The officers only arrested and booked in one Thomas Mauti and Caleb Akori, who had plumbing materials that were suspected to be stolen property. They were booked in. They also impounded 2 motorcycles, registration KMCN 366 and KMCL 187, whose riders ran away. They also made other arrests at 10 p.m. Now, according to Benson Simiu Makoha, he came to learn through the Saturday Nation that he was required to attend court on 26 July 2016 over the disappearance of the 2 gentlemen. He stated that in Kawangware, they had a cell where they kept suspects when booked in and they would transfer them to the nearest police station. Now, according to him, the allegations by Sarah Muyera, one of the parents of these children, was false. She had called his colleague Simon Bao to inquire whether they had detained the 2 boys, but he was not on duty on the 1st of June 2016 around the mentioned areas alleged. He also declared that he was a law-abiding citizen who had been victimized by the public. The prayer for habeas corpus and for compensation was misplaced since he did not detain anybody, and it was his prayer that the application should fail since there was no violation of any person's rights and freedoms. Now, James Kahari also swore a replying affidavit on 27 July 2016, where he stated that he was an administrative police officer and he was attached at Dagoretti Sub-County Police Headquarters. He confirmed that he had been on patrol with Sergeant Benson Makoha, Simon Bao, Joseph Lekalja on patrol at 4 p.m. on the 1st of June 2016, and he produced his work ticket for the period 1st June to 19th June. He did not arrest the 2 gentlemen, and he said that the allegation was false. Daniel Miruka also swore an affidavit stating that he was an inspector of police in charge of Kawangware Division Administration Police Camp. The 2 people who were claimed to have been arrested, being Brian Zenze and Erickson Aluda Mambo, according to him, they had not actually been arrested. All right? Now, what he said as well is that he learned of the issue through the local newspaper on 21st July 2016, and the names of the 2 did not feature anywhere in the occurrence book, popularly known as the OB. He went to Mudangari police station where the mother to one of the 2 gentlemen had reported that she last saw her on the 31st of May 2016, whereas Eunice Kajairo reported that Brian Zenze had gone missing on the 1st of June 2016. The informer has never recorded a statement. Further, the motor vehicle that was being used, the GK vehicle, had never been attached to Kawangware Administration Police Station. Now, he also said a person cannot be detained for more than 24 hours, and it was upon the petitioners to prove their case. Now, the counsel for the petitioners and the Law Society then asked to cross-examine each of them. For James Kahari, he confirmed that on 1st of June 2016, he was on patrol with Benson Makoha, Simon Bao, Kenneth Njoroge, and Joseph Lekalja, and they were attached to headquarters at Dagoretti, except Sergeant Makoha, who was attached at Kawangware AP camp. And he also stated that Daniel Miruka was in charge of the Kawangware division of the police, and he was aware of the patrol. Now, as for Senior Sergeant Makoha, who was attached to Kawangware AP camp, he saw an affidavit on his behalf and on behalf of his fellow officers, Kennedy Mburu Njoroge, Simon Kinyanjue Mbao, and Simon Rotich, who had signed a document entitled Authority to Plead and Act, and that they do hereby give authority to Benson Simiu Makoha to lead and act on our behalf in these proceedings. He confirmed that on the 1st of June 2016, with the officers listed in his affidavit from the division headquarters, they were together, although the Kawangware camp and division headquarters have their own separate personnel establishment. But he was unable to explain the different dates on the duty rota, showing the 24th of August 2015, 26th of January 2016, and the 1st of June 2016. He testified that they had dispersed at 10 p.m. and that they had been with Simon Bao until late. He considered that there appears to have been an overwrite on the date stamp on the daily deployment register at the Dagoretti sub-county headquarters for 1st of June 2016. Now, when he was referred to the Daily Arms issue book, Dagoretti Sub-County, he said, at lockup shows the officer Simon Bao appears twice on the sheet. The first at 6:21 a.m. was returned at 12:26. Okay? The magazine was not firm, that is why it was returned. The second entry is at 3:43 and appears on 2nd of June 2016. It appears to be at 4 p.m. Now, when the two mothers of the two gentlemen were appointed for him in court, he said, I do not know the two ladies presented before the court. He stated in his re-examination that the report of the missing person in the OB number 25 was made on 3rd of June 2016 and that the reportee said that the persons had gone missing on the 31st of May 2016. He denied arresting them or having them in custody. Now, Chief Inspector Daniel Miruka, when he was cross-examined on his affidavit, confirmed that he was in charge of the Kawangware AP camp, one of the 5 camps under the command of the District AP Command at the Dagoretti Sub-County headquarters, that he knew Sarah Kadi, who was the mother to the third petitioner, in this case, who was Erickson Aluda Mambo. So Sarah was the mother of Eric Aluda Mambo. And he confirmed as well to the court while he was undergoing his cross-examination that okay, there we are. He also confirmed that at the same time that Sarah Kadi had approached him in early June and she had requested to discuss some urgent matter. And when he met her at the camp's gate, she shouted emotionally and exchanged words with him while asking for 2 police officers, Kichwa and Joro, who she said had arrested her son, and he had advised her to file a report at the camp's report office. He also confirmed that Benson Simiu Makoha was an officer from his camp, and that on the 1st of June 2016, Benson Makoha was with 5 officers from the Dagoretti Sub-County headquarters on lockup duties, which meant that they were stationed at Dagoretti Corner, from where they waited for any response within the sub-county, and that they were using a motor vehicle GKA 875X from the sub-county headquarters. Let's take a short music break, and then when we come back, what did the court find after listening to all the parties in this case?
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power us. From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawa Radio.
Inauma hii side ya left ya chest, naomba boxes zingine za handkerchief. Machozi ligeuza mchanga matope penye umerest. Hisi WhatsApp group unaweza rudi ukileft, walivakata mabawa usifly again. Clouds ni grey, nguo ni black, macho ni red, colors za pain. It takes a long day, kujua life ni short, life haina remote. Unaweza fast forward ama rewind to a happier episode. Machozi ya jana haigandi, tutapanguza na furaha ya justice. Etutu awe, atuko nawe, lala salama, atuko nawe, etuko awe, tapatana, machozi ya jana. Nilijaribu kujiconvince huku juu ya mapenzi ya Mungu. Ukweli ni roza statue ndani ya watu. Sababu seriousness ya poisonousness, tusipuuze ka cuteness ya pet. Kwa mkono mngekimbilia ndio muliangamia, hamkunuia mlo waliwaandalia. Sound ya glass ya champagne ikigonga cheers, impunity ikicelebrate. Itatizwe na sauti ya nudo kwa court wakiface judgment. Iwe funzo kwa wenye tabia kama hiyo, mwizi wa uhai hukumu usiwe kuchunwa sikio. Again, yeah.
wajua njia zangu yatengeze, yale siwezi yasongeze, wewe ndiye nguvu ya wanyonge. Ewe Mungu wajua njia zangu yatengeze, yale siwezi yasongeze, wewe ndiye nguvu ya wanyonge.
Nalilia yatima wajane kama hana maspouse, damu crime for justice itaran kama maji kwa fereji State House. More than hashtags, placards, si weta tu ndio waingie behind bars. Enough is enough, ujuzi ya nasa isaidi ndani ya hasa. Usiblame move for destination, ni mkichwa ilipatia direction.
Tuku awe, tuko nawe, lala salama. Tuko nawe, tuku awe, matana, machozi ya jana. Tuku awe, tuko nawe, lala salama. Tuko nawe, tuko awe, tapatana, machozi ya jana.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power up.
Fata mwendo wa jua unapokuja, unapokuja. Fata mwendo wa jua kunapokuja na kutakuja. Fata mwezi kwa giza, tarajia, tarajia. Fata mwezi kwa giza, tumainia, tumainia. Mawio usife moyo baba, kumekucha, tazama kumekucha. Usife moyo ndugu, kumekucha, tazama, tazama. Usife moyo baba, kumekucha, tazama kumekucha. Usife moyo ndugu, kumekucha, tazama, tazama mawio.
That's Mawio by Njoki Karo. Fantastic, fantastic artist. Remember, we are dealing with a case here of the disappearance in Constitutional Petition number 311 of 2016, the disappearance of Brian Zenze and Erickson Aluda Mambo. Now, this was a very sad case because the court was able to establish that the two individuals were actually taken by the police officers. However, the police officers who took them did not come to court to testify about the circumstances in which those two had been arrested. Now, you'll remember that part of the evidence that had been given in court was that they had been witnesses to a murder that had occurred, and that murder had implicated some police officers. So even at the time of the court making its finding, the two had not been traced. And the court gave an order that they be produced because it was established that they had disappeared under very unclear circumstances. All right. The court also awarded compensation to the mothers of the two boys, being Beatrice Kajairo and Sarah Kadi Muyera, and they were paid 5 million shillings each as compensation for the breach of the two boys' rights and Article 29 of the Constitution against deprivation of freedom arbitrarily and without just cause and detention without trial. Now, the court also ordered that the Inspector General of Police carry his constitutional and statutory function of investigation of crime and thereafter to consider the results of the investigation and to prosecute persons found culpable for any offense. These two boys were never found. To the best of our knowledge, they were never produced, but their families received compensation. This country, as we come to the end of this show, people are disappearing every day. Guys, this has been happening for a long time. And I think when we call for accountability of the police and we speak against police brutality, this is part of what we're talking about. That many, many young people, and I think when the books are finally opened and we come to the realization of what has actually happened and how many people we've lost, I think it will be a big, big shock to Kenyans. And the fact that a lot of the times, police officers are actually involved. So remember, if you have a missing person and this is a person who's been missing for a long time and you have reason to believe that the police could have taken them, you can approach the Law Society of Kenya. You can just do a quick Google search and you'll find the details of the Law Society of Kenya and you'll see the number. You call that number and a petition can be filed in court for those individuals to be produced. This is a sad one, but this is our country. As Masi Tarus likes to say, Kenya ni home. Kenya ni home, manze. So we've got to make it work. Be safe this week. See you on Saturday. We're back here with this same show as we take a deep dive into legal matters, 1 to 3 p.m. on Saturday. So see you on Saturday. Have a lovely evening and a lovely rest of the week. Tomorrow, I hear we're back to the streets. There's a protest tomorrow. Be safe and remember, in case we're kwendani, we will be there to come and get you out. God bless you.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and power up.
Steady rocking on the midnight rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion.
Pawa Radio. Tune in and